Okay. Firstly, welcome to tonight's meeting, last meeting in the Town Centre and Events Committee. Can I thank you all for everything you've all done over the 4 years? You've done to make sure that all the events has took place, and those people who have led on events and work with officers, and especially those officers who have led on events, we've managed to get to where we did without it. And I think it's important that we thank them. For you to get, because you know they worked over and above what we wanted this club. Obviously, we all know why, and it's important that we say thank you. And with that, we have a public session, and we have two guests with us today. Sharon Grossman, if you want to speak first, and then we've got you should speaking on the Easter trail. Is that right?
Well, yeah, we want to use it to sort of talk a little bit about the Rotaries one. So
okay, do you want to sort of do together?
Yes.
One first and another. Is that okay?
Yeah, and if Chris maybe starts first, just because that's the way we've worked.
Yeah, okay. If you do what you like with public session, you know. Yeah, you want to come up to the table so we can see you really easier than try to talk to you. Just a bit more friendly to come to the table than trying to do it from the.
We didn't know you were friendly.
This is one of the most relaxed committees. If you stay and watch the whole thing, that part of the meeting, and the corrections councillor Ron Stepney most of the time. Anyway, carry on.
So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris Gardner. I'm president of Buckingham Rotary. Before Sharon talks about the Easter egg hunt, I just want to explain what we do, because I think Rotary has a bit of a hidden life, if you like, and I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to make us a bit more visible. This is my first of 2 years as the president, and I think we're beginning to see some change, but it's a bit slow. So what have we done? Over the last year, so during the last presidential year, we raised over £10,000, or we didn't. The community groups that we helped raised £10,000 using our resources. So things like the swimathon, which took place last weekend, or the weekend before last, the Santa float. So we provide the organisation, we provide the resources, and then the groups themselves actually do the collecting, do the fundraising, and we give the money back to them, because it's not our money at the end of the day. We keep a small amount of it just to cover our overheads, but they generally get it all. And this is really for Anya. We've got a presentation evening in May where we've asked the mayor to come along to the presentation evening just to see what we do. So these are the people that will actually be doing the collecting. They'll come on and tell us a little bit about themselves.
Well, it depends when it is in May.
It's already in the diary. So I
send the invite to the office, and
they've already got the invite. Yes.
Sort of send it to the current mayor, whether it is.
Yes, so they have that already. We also raise money ourselves, which we spend on community projects that we undertake. So within the next, in June, we're taking 40 primary school children to Whipsnade. So these are sort of not quite people premium, not quite people that can afford it, but that sort of gap that falls through the cracks in the middle. So it's 10 from each of the 4 primary schools. No cost to the schools at all. We're taking 2 children, one from the Buckingham School and one from the Royal Latin, to attend a 4-day Young Leaders course, Northampton. Again, no cost to the schools. And this is my 2nd year of doing it, but we've done it in the past, where it's actually seemed like an award to the school. So the school can nominate people how they wish to. And over the years, we do interview technique sessions with the 6th form at Buckingham School. So they get some idea of when they walk into an interview scenario with lots of old fogies who grunt and groan, but we give them feedback as well. So we try.
We've done that for quite a number of years.
We have, yes, yeah. And that's really good. I mean, I think it's 47 this year, but there was some like 80 last year we're doing. And we're also instrumental for building the model of the town that was used by Lionel in his Buckingham Ablaze event. But we didn't just do that ourselves, so we built the infrastructure for that. We built little houses, but we gave it to the schools, and the schools stuck the houses on the map itself. So you know, we're trying really hard to get ourselves out into the community. we've got a couple of pipeline projects which we hope will see through to completion and provide regular activity sessions for SEND children within the community, and also provide some sort of resourcing for reception of children that might need them, so things like backpacks, books, whatever else. So we're working with the schools on this. So at the moment we're doing a lot of work with the primary schools, which I think is, personally, I think is really good. Our members are also, they're not just Rotary focused, but they also get out into the community. So you may know me through the Repair Cafe. I'm also in many sheds. I'm not really through many sheds. We've also assisted the Flood Action Group. So some of the early setup activities they did, some of the paperwork they needed to do, the grant work that they needed, we helped actually produce that for them, or gave them examples which they could then use to do that. So again, it's in the community. Sharon gets involved in the school holiday clubs at Lace Hill as well. So in short, Buckingham Rotary, Rotary has lots of mottos, but one of the key ones which we're trying to live up to really, really carefully is this thing called people of action. So we want to be seen to be doing things within the town, not just sitting back and waiting. Our biggest challenge though is membership. And again, all the things that we do, we're trying to advertise, so we're using things like Booking What Matters, which gets out to the community so people can actually see what we do, and hopefully it'll entice people to come along. So that's where we are. And I'll finish up with an offer really. Perhaps in the future there'll be an opportunity for us to work with the events group or with the town council to actually arrange something within the town that we can all be proud of and see through. That's an open offer. So at that point I'm going to shut up and let you have 3 questions for me.
Would it be better, Sharon, both then we can do them?
So I was going to say, so Sharon speaks, yeah?
Okay, so I'm Sharon Crossman, and I've sort of been involved with mainly sort of children and family activities over the last few years. So I was involved with Townsend in setting up the Buckingham Summer Club, which the town council supports with its funding, which is good. So that's the activities we do in the summer holidays. I also coordinate the kids' activities in the libraries, the craft activities that we do at half term and in the holidays. And I joined the Rotary Club a few months ago, really to sort of see if there were other things that we could do in the community, and that the families and young people is my sort of interest. So I think really, as Chris said, there's 3 projects that we're sort of looking to do this year. And I've sort of known Sam pretty well over the last few years because we've done a lot on different lifestyle things. And so we started talking about the Easter egg trail, which the town council had done in the past. And we said, well, is that something maybe that we could manage and organise? Which because the families like it and there's always good feedback from it, so it's a good way. And B, also it would get us a little bit more known amongst some of the younger people, the younger families is what we were thinking. So again, that sort of leads into maybe getting some younger people into the Rotary Club, some some more diversity, because the more people we've got, the more we can do, obviously. So that's sort of the Easter egg trail thing that's actually on the agenda. And the other 2 projects we're hoping to do this year, Chris touched on, is we're hoping to set up a monthly play group for SEN kids, because we do one specifically for SEN kids in the summer holidays in our summer club, and the feedback we get from the parents is just they really would love something more regular. So through the Rotary and the Rotary Club, we've got quite a few people who are interested, and again we want to sort of reach out to people to make sure that we've got lots of people. Fran and I've already had a conversation about this. And the other project that Chris just mentioned is there's a lot in the news at the moment about kids starting school and they're not school ready for various reasons. And I volunteer at Lace Hill, so sort of hear it from the reception teachers and that. So we're thinking of trying to do some project which will help the kids and the families know what they need to do and give them some assistance before they get to reception, and B, obviously help the teachers as well, because they really struggle because they get so many children now that don't know some of the basics. So that's very early days on that project, but we are looking at it, and we're also just about to see if we can get some funding from the Rotary district for that as well. Maybe we'll come back and talk about that a little bit more. So yeah, it's really just sort of sharing a bit of information, and as Chris says, hopefully we can work on some of these projects with people around this table, basically.
Thank you. We don't make decisions in this section. I'm quite free for questions to be asked, but what I would imagine we'll do is once we get past the election, we'll try and work something out that we can agenda an item and work with you in a proper manner. We can't have to make that decision tonight. I know that the committee are key public servants and many of them are involved in SEN. Lisa.
Thanks. So I run the Buckingham Youth Centre's Facebook group. So if there's anything that you ever want on there, then just share it to there, and I'll make sure that it's pinned to the top.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
So the youth centre is actually one of the examples of Rotary's helped in the past.
Yeah, we get
a lot of the setup of it was paid for by Rotary, I believe. Yeah. And we're working with Johnson. We use the facilities there for our business meetings.
Because we do the swim-a-thon and the Santa float. So yeah.
Anyway, John.
I think what you're doing brilliant when it comes back. I mean, you're not only saying you've got membership to ministry or whatever, but you're making the most of who you've got.
Yeah.
And you're doing clearly great amounts, so thank you for doing that for the town.
Yeah.
I'm sure people appreciate it greatly in a whole variety of ways. And I'm sure there's some way we can find ways of complementing each other and supporting each other in the future, because obviously we share lots of the ambitions that you share. Certainly one of my earliest memories is winning a local competition speech making. My speech was the March of Metrification or something like that, to a Rotary International kind of thing, which went regional then national. You do that anymore?
Yes, we do.
Oh right, okay. Well, I think it's great. Certainly helped me gain confidence. Probably too much if people would. But yeah, so Rob and my dad was once president of the Rotary, so lots of connections there. So well done.
Any
just want to echo what John's saying, really, that it's brilliant. I think that people's perception possibly of Rotary, who they are and what they do, is not necessarily up to date, shall we say. So yeah, I think it would be brilliant, and hopefully we can work together on various things. As you said, we've had conversations about the SEN play group already.
Good.
And with
Karina.
Yeah. I was just trying to decide whether to say her name or not. So yeah, I think it's brilliant, and yeah, there's definitely a basis to move forwards with some things as things progress. Yeah.
Very good.
I can echo all those things. I'm not going to repeat them. I've just about your event, the charities event. I've just double checked the date, the 20th of May. I will no longer be the mayor by then. Right, okay. So it will be passed on to the next mayor, who will hopefully be able to attend in my stead. And I will be happy to attend anyway as a guest, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
To say, Andy, just to say that on the history of young people being involved, my brother and my sister-in-law used to be Rotary.
Oh yes.
And they were young Rotarians in Rotary, and they got through lots of things like you're saying all those years ago, which was spearheaded by the late Chris Phillips, who was a tremendous bloke. And to compete with John, first time I went to competition was because I was non-verbal, believe it or not. And I actually was at a Christmas party and I won a competition for singing in Welsh. And actually I was not singing in Welsh, I just couldn't speak properly. And they awarded me a prize for singing in Welsh. Even though they felt very sorry for me, they gave me something to sing. Either way, I remember that the gentleman announced that it was nice to hear a child singing Welsh. And I still cherish that thought. So and as someone who suffers with dyslexia and at speech therapy, I'm really supportive of anything to do with SEN. I still struggle with dyslexia today, so it's important that we do that. And can I thank you for coming?
Thank you.
And I'll leave you in the hands of the town clerk post-election, and whoever's the chair of the committee post-election, we'll work out some way through the town clerk to see that we can build a copy of it. We can co-opt people to committees and we can have them on specific roles, but that'll be something for the members to discuss. And thank you again for coming, and thank you for being so positive.
Thank you.
And it's lovely to see how much you're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
So just before we finish, there were a couple of asks that we had of you, which was to use the old Jelly Information Tourist Office.
They'll discuss that.
Oh, they'll discuss that. So.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can't make a decision, unfortunately.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But the town clerk will crucify me if I start.
In that case, we'll.
As much as I've tried in the past, and we have to respect those rules. You know, and I'm sure Stuart and the office will take note, and it will come back to a future meeting.
Okay.
And if you've got any concerns, officers will deal with them outside the meeting
Brilliant.
and work for your planning. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I apologise. I'll do that. But we can't really do it. Right, thank you very much. I think we can all agree that was quite rewarding.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the agenda, which is apologies for absence. We have no absence. Apologies declared.
Yes, Deputy Town Clerk, send their apologies, can't be here due to a family emergency. Councillor Arnold and Councillor Allen.
Okay, well, can we record those apologies and accept them?
Yeah.
Declarations for interests, I think they're all safely tucked away in our members' interests. There's something on the agenda. Okay. Minutes of the last meeting. Are we happy to know?
Received, yes.
Okay, received, thank you. Budgets. Well, they are what they are. Are there any particular questions on them? There's some things marked in red by the officers which you might want to question. John?
I think I'm just going to note that there's a lot of red which says more income than expected
Yeah.
for quite a few of the items, and I think we should congratulate the officers and indeed ourselves for running some successful projects that have come in above budget and added, as it were, to the town council's coffers. So we should rock on.
For myself, I think, that actually speaks volumes of what we've done. We didn't over budget, we underspent, which is quite difficult, and which meant that we actually commissioned things cheaper.
Well, I would say we are still wrapping up the last few bits and pieces, so this isn't the actual final for the year, there's still a few bits to be processed through.
The general picture is
It's good.
it's good how we've managed the budget. Specifically, we've had some challenges throughout the year, and we've had to take some different decisions, but to do what we've done as a committee with the staff, it's quite tremendous. Is there any? I mean, the thing which is quite cheery is if you look at the street market incomes, they look really quite buoyant. Fran?
I'd just like to say that we should thank the office and the market manager and especially the staff that have stepped up in view of the staffing issues that have gone on this year. How well they've actually worked towards getting these events all working properly. I think they should be really commended for it.
Absolutely.
Those will be recorded, I think.
Yeah.
Seconded by someone?
Yeah.
All those in favour? Okay, I think it's important. Right, in which case we'll move swiftly on to hanging baskets, which is under the deputy town clerk, so I believe that's now under town clerk.
It is a very short notice, I do apologise. So this is a recommendation regarding the provision of our hanging baskets and planters over the next 3 years. I will be honest, costs have gone up more than is ideal, but unfortunately, it's quite important that the town centre looks neat and tidy, and whilst it's not great that it's going to be 1,100 and a bit pounds more than we had hoped for, I think it will. In the overall scheme of the budget, it's a relatively small amount. We can find that. I'm intending to have a good look and see if I can find it from the underspend from this year anyway, which would help cover it. But we do need decent hanging baskets, and we have, as you can see, the Deputy Town Clerk has approached quite a number of companies, and this is where we are and what we got back.
Thank you. Listen.
Is there a reason why the company names have been redacted?
Yes. Companies don't necessarily want other companies to know how much they quoted, so we do tend to redact company names for these things unless we deal with the matter in documentation.
The only reason I ask is because I know that one of the companies that's listed, at least, I'm not sure about all of them, but isn't necessarily as small and local of a garden centre / nursery as some of the others. And it's more of a chain. And I know it's reasonably local, it is situated within 20 miles, but it is also a chain. Costs?
If you want to say which company it is that you have costs. Okay.
That's a reasonable comment. Anybody else? How would you members wish to approach this? Do we wish to agree the recommendation, or do we wish to amend it?
I believe we have looked at quotes for this previously in previous years and decided to not go with a national chain then. And we can obviously not discuss names here. So that's the only thing that I'm not sure it's getting us any further, but just to make our decision more complicated, throwing this into the mix. Sorry.
I would say with a matter like that, giving a heads up beforehand, we could have had.
Sorry, yeah.
Can I make a suggestion then?
I didn't pay attention to that beforehand, I'm sorry.
You're right, no, I appreciate the confusion, and that's.
So what's the issue?
Through the town clerk then, if we were to propose that our preference, we don't go for, we're looking for, that we could propose that our recommendation should be in line with our preference to support local firms.
Yeah.
And we rely on the opportunity to interpret that recommendation in those means. Would that be unreasonable?
Can we ask which of the two is of concern? Is it the hanging baskets quote or the planters quote? Because I would say the
hanging basket, sorry.
Yes, the planters quote, even if we had a preference for local, due to the huge difference, I don't really think that we can justify.
No, it was the hanging baskets.
So, which case then, John?
I'm confused because in the hanging baskets, both company E and company F, the only two that actually supply quotes, are both listed as local companies.
Locals within 20 miles.
Well, that's still reasonably local.
But local can still mean a national chain. It just means that one of their centres is within 20 miles.
I get, I get that, but they are employing local people, aren't they, if it's within 20 miles?
Yeah, I just think we should support small businesses.
I mean, Tesco's here obviously is an international company.
But as a town
who works there is local.
Thank you. I think there's a schism here, and it's probably much our fault, not the office, in the sense that perhaps we should have sought to discuss these things further. What I'm proposing and that with these things is that we, on the hanging baskets then, is that we would agree either but recommend that the contract goes to the most local firm. Would that be unreasonable? And if that, because we prefer to do that, but if that isn't possible, town clerk will tell us it isn't.
There is a significant cost difference on a budget line that has already gone over budget. I would suggest that both companies fulfil our criteria. They do have premise within the 20 miles, and as I said, they do employ local people. They've all, they are genuine, legitimate, good businesses within the area, and this is a budget that is already spiraled beyond what we had hoped. My recommendation is still very much that we should go with the 2 cheaper quotes from established reputable local firms.
Okay, thank you. I had another proposal seconded, so I'll take Lisa, then I'll come to John.
Thanks. I can't remember what it was on now, but we did make a decision recently that even though it was slightly over, one of the other quotes is because they were local, we said that we would go with them. I just can't remember I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
I don't know if it was recent, but it was, sorry.
Yes, go on.
It was this decision either last year or the year before, but we held it in confidential, so we had all of the numbers.
Okay.
All of the names in front of us. I apologise, Claire, I honestly haven't even had time to read it, so.
I wasn't about when this agenda was put together, so there are some things that may have.
Yeah,
have we done it in the past?
and
I should have been on top
the
of it.
reason why it triggered is because last time we had 2 quotes with about a couple of £100 difference, and one was a national chain to whom, yes, they do employ local people, they are within the 20-mile limit, but a £3,500 spent to them won't necessarily be as meaningful and as helpful and impactful as a £3,500 to, and again, I can remember the name of the company last time, but I won't. And they were a local company that had gone through some significant personal issues which had affected the running of it, and they were trying really hard to get back on their feet, and they did a stunning job as well, so it wasn't like it was a sympathy vote. They did an incredible job, and I just think we should take that into consideration, but I do recognise what John said as well.
Well, I absolutely hear what you're saying, Lucy, of course I do. But I think therefore we need to look at our procurement policy and maybe look more closely at what we mean by local and what we mean by preferencing certain organisations over others. Because I hear what you're saying about a national versus, a local outfit, that kind of stuff. And I think we need to just take a look at that. So I think that should be on. Well, it's not really just an agenda for this committee, it's probably an agenda item for the full council to have a look again at our procurement approach and see whether we can tweak it so that the issues that Lucy's raising would be factored in. Because at the moment, on the basis of what we're being presented by this report, there is no difference other than the cost. I hear you've got some inside knowledge, I get that, but looking at the report, we have to go for the best value for money. And if they were at the moment, there's nothing dividing them apart from the cost. So we can't invent stuff in the meeting to say we should go for the other one that's been recommended.
So
I don't think we can do that. That wouldn't be fair, and it could possibly even break the law.
We don't have to go with the recommendation.
It could in terms of procurement policy and doing things out and out and fair and so on.
We did it last time.
Well, I would disagree. We're already over budget.
Into consideration that we do have to be able to justify those decisions when it comes to spending public money. But yes, you can certainly take into account how local a firm is. That is something that is part of your decision making. But at the moment, we do have these within 20 miles of, and that was
right. I'm going to take Lisa and then Anya, and then I'm going to look for a proposal in a second. I think we've gone round this quite a lot.
Are we breaking the law? Are we breaking the law if we change the recommendations? We've changed recommendations before.
No, provided that we've taken everything into account and we are looking at best value for public money.
Thank you.
Right, Anya and John.
So in the light of the discussion, as we've had it, I will propose that on this occasion, we go for the accept the recommendation as it is And we can then, in a future meeting, not of this committee, but either resources or the full council, look at the procurement policy. Again, I believe that in the light of what we have in front of us, that's the only thing we can do at this stage. So my proposal is that we accept the recommendation.
Is that seconded? Andy, those in favour? Those against? Okay, that's 3 all.
I'm abstaining.
Which case I think I'll go with the proposal which I made, which is to seek to make it a local.
You're proposing an amendment.
I'm proposing an amendment that we ask the office to make sure that we, unless there's anything outstanding, we seek to make the recommendation as close to Buckingham as possible. Let's not name anyone, we don't know. And it was sort of totally split. So,
Is this for both? Or are we just
No,
on
just
that
for the
hanging
new
baskets at the moment? Okay.
yeah. It was 3 all or whatever, so.
So your amendment would be that we go with whichever firm is closest to Buckingham.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, so
Sorry, a point of order, Chair, Sam Clark. We've had a decision where we've gone 3-3, and you have the casting vote, Robin, because you're in the chair.
Yeah.
The accepted way is you go for the status quo. You don't change things with your casting vote. That's the accepted sort of view of how a chair enacts a casting vote in a meeting. You can choose to do otherwise, but that is the accepted way of doing things. Because you don't, sometimes, and that meant when I was in the chair, when I was mayor and so on, I had to vote against myself because I knew what the status quo was. I feel that you're changing policy on the hoof, and that it doesn't need another motion for you to do that. That's a separate thing altogether. We have to resolve this motion. You have to resolve whether as chair you're going to vote with the status quo as recommended by the town clerk and her team, or something different, because it's a 3-3 split.
I've just seen the town clerk. Is anything that I've done against council policy?
Not against policy, and there's nothing written down.
So I'm entitled to, as chair, to decide which way I
You
go.
are entitled to.
Yeah, so in which case I haven't acted outside status quo.
That wasn't, but well, I'm saying the convention is.
I've been in meetings, John, I can assure you, where it has been far more money and far more serious issues, and the status quo is never necessarily whatever. So, I mean, I think the important thing from this, John, is what you said earlier, is that we need to review the policy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that settles the difference on it. I don't think anyone in here is really wishing to fall out over something such like this. Sorry, the decision and the recommendation of the liking of the 3, but I did vote for it in the first place, so I feel as I'd voted for it. If it had been a planning application and I voted for it, I would be able to vote as chair of planning to reassure my first vote. So, and that's how it works in planning. So that's how I'm being guided as I've seen planning applications. So, sorry, it isn't as light, but we have to agree whether that's acceptable by the majority, which we have now voted again. And if that isn't acceptable, we'll be back to where we were.
So you propose an amendment, which is to make the winning bid will be the firm that is based as close to Buckingham as possible.
Yes. Yeah.
So that would be the seconder.
I seconded it.
So, thank
And
you.
then we will vote on that again so that it's clear. And if members don't agree with that, that will fall and we'll have to go to something else. Is that agreed?
Hang on, point of order, we have a vote. That needs to be resolved before we can do anything else. We can't have 2 motions floating around on the table.
Which vote are you?
Well, the proposal was to go for the higher offer, effectively.
Yeah, which.
And that was voted 3-3. You then used your casting vote to support.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was for
For the lower offer,
go with the recommendation, which was company F.
Yeah,
That was what the vote was.
company F.
Okay, I'm now completely lost. I thought we were voting on the hanging, can I finish? On the hanging baskets.
Yeah.
And I thought the proposal was to go with the recommendation in the report.
Which was
And that was
company F.
50-50.
Yeah, and that's for the lower offer. The
Which
recommendation
company
is for the
F?
lower offer.
No,
Yeah, F.
Yeah.
Company F.
3 people
It's
voted against that.
Yes.
And then Robin used his casting vote to go for the higher offer.
No. For whichever of the two offers is from a company which is closest to Buckingham.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I don't get
Robin
the process at all.
used his casting vote, at which point the motion to accept the recommendation fell.
Right. Okay. Right.
So now
So
Robin
there's
is,
no decision made then about that?
no, so now Robin is proposing an amendment to that motion.
Which has to be voted on as it falls. That's where I was on when you said you not waiver it. Everyone can
Okay.
vote against that if they want to, and we have to go back to the original proposal if that's the case. And which is the one which I didn't vote for, because people can't vote the chair. Okay. Okay. So those in favour of the amendment,
And the amendment is
That,
town clerk. Or
The amendment is to make sure that we go with the firm that are based as close to Buckingham as possible.
Yeah.
So to be honest, as there's only two firms, it'd be whichever one is as
Yeah.
close to.
okay, yeah.
so can we vote on that? All those in favour? Okay. Are you abstaining?
I'm abstaining, yeah, because I'm
Thank you.
confused.
Okay, thank you, that's fine. Record John abstaining. Totally right, if you want to. Nothing wrong with that. Now, in which case we move on to the second part
yeah,
of
this
it,
is the planters,
which
yeah.
is the planters, which I now don't want to discuss this all again. I'm just looking for a proposer and second and resolve that. Lucy.
Can I propose we accept the clerk's recommendation?
Can I second that, please?
John.
Okay, have we just made policy that any decision is about always the most local company or just that first one?
No, just the first one.
Just first.
It's two recommendations.
Because, may I explain my proposal? Because of the difference in these two contracts being over £25,000, I feel that it would be reckless of us to even discuss the possibility of going for the more expensive one, whereas the difference in price between the hanging baskets was £300 and something pounds. So I feel that there we can give some leeway, was my logic behind it. So it's not one rule for one and one rule for another. It's where can we have a bit of wiggle room?
Are we happy with that clarification of why we would be voting for the officer's recommendation, only because of the fiscal responsibility and budget?
I'm not happy because it feels like we're just making policy on the hoof.
Well, it's not policy, is it?
No, it's not policy.
It's a decision, it's a decision of the
Hang
committee.
on, through the chair, we've made democratic decisions.
Okay, it's all right, but I can have a view about it.
You could be disagreeable, that's perfectly logical. I totally accept your disagreement with it.
Blame the Rotary Club.
Yeah. What I'm just saying is that on this one, we've had a proposer and second to accept the officer's recommendation, which I ask that we move swiftly to a vote. All those in favour? And that is unanimous. And last thing before we move on, can I ask, post town clerk that she looks at the commissioning policy,
We are having, obviously it will be a new council in
Yeah.
May, all of our financial bits need to look at, and procurement policy is definitely something I think the new council should set a policy early doors in its new cycle.
Brad?
I was going to say that I wonder whether it would be better if faced with such decisions again, that we actually have it in private session so we can see the
names.
see the names of the companies. We can make a decision with more of the information available.
John?
I support what Fran just said. I also think you need to look at the process of procurement, because one of the obvious things to do is we're over budget, is to be able to go back to those suppliers and say, look, you come in a lot more than we've got on the door. Can we negotiate?
Yeah.
Can you knock 10% off? Can you knock 20% off? Whatever it might be. Within the current arrangements, we don't ever do that. I don't see why we should.
We do our best to try and get the price down with a tender.
We did that with this.
Discussions now. When we go out for tender, over a certain amount, there are really procurement regulations we have to comply with. With others, we do unfortunately negotiate and try and get the best deal that we can.
So,
I was just going to say that something else that you said, and I was going to. We need to be very careful, and I think maybe this is something. I know the things have been done differently over the years, and possibly there's been some confusion. As I say, I was off when this was ending up out, so it's not necessarily done in the same way that I would have done it. We do need to have discussions. The public are entitled to hear about why decisions have been made about spending their money, but I also. Sometimes when they're complicated, I think members need to be able to have a really deep private conversation about something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but moving everything confidential, that just is a decision about spending money isn't appropriate. So maybe we need to find a third way, or
there is a third way. When you're dealing with, in other principal authorities, you're dealing with very large sums of money, which in our case is proportionate. What generally happens is, if the chair wants, we can have a public discussion about the principle of it. At that point, you may move into confidential to make a decision, and then when you've made the decision, you move back into the public to explain the decision so that there is clarity about what you do. It makes meetings being extremely complicated, but it also happens in other places. So, and that's because sometimes those contracts are very, very commercially sensitive and whatever, but we can find a way forward. I'm sure that people.
this is a conversation possibly more for resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you happy that we ask the town clerk to look at this and not try to rewrite that agenda and let the town clerk guide us in how we're going to do that? Is that seconded somewhere?
Yeah. That's, I don't need to know.
No, that's fine, because I don't want to have, I understand your nervousness, John. I don't think we need to
I understand members' concerns there. I think in the benefit of hindsight. Yeah, you have legitimate concerns, and I'm sorry that could have been presented better.
It's okay.
Differently.
Yeah, okay, we are where we are. Let's move on, please, because all of us could have asked questions before, so we're all partly responsible. So let's not focus on the way it came before us. Right, in which case we're going to move on to first aid provider, which should be a bit more simple. There's a recommendation here from the deputy town clerk. I'm presuming the report is self-explanatory. Annie?
I propose that we accept the recommendation.
I second it.
Well, that was pain, isn't it?
We're getting better.
We're getting better. Okay, in which case, I have to confess, life's been a bit busy lately, and I didn't see this before it comes to the committee, so I apologise for this. This is another difficult one for us to discuss, as it's now in the public domain. You know, I seek guidance from the committee. Fran?
I note that two of the companies that have quoted, their names are displayed on the paperwork, and the other two aren't.
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit of editing issues gone on there, unfortunately.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry. I would say on this basis, company A, without wanting to say too much, are very familiar with the site and the layout.
Yeah, I know the company.
Yeah.
Dealt with them for a long time.
I propose we accept the recommendation.
Is that agreed?
Yeah, agreed.
That was a lot less pain than I thought that would be. It's quite strange, isn't it? We discuss large sums of money and agree, and when we well, make hard work of small sums.
Well, I think we've possibly sussed that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just making comment.
Yeah.
Right, okay, let's move on swiftly then to the
Forthcoming events.
yeah, forthcoming events. Yeah, right, thank you, Andy. Forthcoming events, right. You want to lead us through that? Are you going to lead us through that?
I can do Buckingham Live.
Yeah, go on then.
Buckingham Live is it's taking place on 25th of May at Buckingham Football Club. The safety event paperwork is with Buckinghamshire licensing so they can review it just to make sure everything's in order. Susie's busy and trying to finalise the lineup. I think she's had a lot of interest. But everything is penciled in: security, first aid, bins, matting for an accessible viewing area. We've had site visits with the football club, so everything's in order.
Lisa, then
Thank you. Just a comment from last year's event. Can we please make sure the disabled bays are not blocked by the food vans? Because it was very, very difficult parking last year and I nearly wasn't able to attend because it's very difficult.
So we have revised the site plan, and we do want to move the food vans to the far end of the field, which frees up the car park then.
Yeah, good.
However, if the weather leading up to the weather is really bad, we may have to put those food vans back in there.
We then look at not blocking the disabled bays.
Yeah.
Other bays,
yeah.
but not the disabled.
We did have issues last year with, obviously, people as they're playing, they want to park there, so we need to make sure that there's.
They're not doing that.
They know there's no parking.
Yeah.
On site for their cars.
Thank you.
Thank you. It all seems to be coming together. Susie has actually been in touch with me, and I asked if there was anything she needed. She's living in gazebo weights. I don't know if we've got any.
She's at yeah, we're aware.
Yeah, cool. Excellent.
John?
Can we send health and good wishes to Pete Thirlby?
Absolutely.
Because he's back home from hospital after a serious medical emergency. He is on the road to recovery.
That's excellent.
And I think we should just say, obviously thanks for last year and wish him well for the next few months for his recovery and so on.
Yeah,
That's what we can do.
Through the town clerk, can you organise that? I think you did appropriate one of us do it at this time, I think.
No, that's right. I should go from the town clerk, of course.
Yeah.
But I think let's do that. Yeah.
From myself, I thank all the work you've done on this. Last year, if you remember that when we were doing the site plan, we had to do 3 different licenses. And I think what you're saying to me is we've managed to have a different licensing proposal, is that correct?
So we were hoping that the football club would have the proper licence that they need in place for us to not have the fencing and the 2 additional tents. However, that won't be in place in time. Licensing have had a visit there. They're working with the club to get the licence, and next year they will have the correct licence. So we will still, literally everything will mirror last year. We will have to have 2 licensed areas and a maximum capacity of numbers in those areas.
Yeah, I think I understand where the thinking problem is there. I think that's good news, but what I will say about last year is that what was clearly evident in the event last year is we had all that concern about moving it down there, but it was a success. What it actually did was bring different people to the event.
Families were able to stay
came to the
longer.
event. They stayed longer.
Kids playing.
Kids were playing, and there was various activities which took place, which wouldn't have took place in the town centre. So are we happy to note that and
thanks.
thanks to that, and of course when the event takes place, we'll all be able to attend, and I think we'll be looking for volunteers to support it, I said. But yeah, thank you. In which case, we note that Green Fair, are you doing that?
I
Sam?
can do that one. Spring Green Fair is the Sunday before the election on Thursday. So for obvious reasons will be a relatively low-key community event. Reasonable turnout of the local organisations that come and help at this event quite regularly, plus a couple of new ones. There'll be an ice cube, an ice cream truck, and we're ramping up the advertising for it, but all is in order and ready to go.
Thank you.
Members happy to note that.
Yeah.
Noted, yeah.
Play day in summer youth activities. Who's are you doing that?
That was me.
Good luck with
I
you.
was just trying to open it. So the summer youth project covers our Buckingham budget covers our Buckingham play days. I've gone out to a couple of local companies to try and look at the quotes and costs. And I've also looked at what's going on locally with the church's summer club and start the Buckingham Summer Club dates as well. So I've highlighted the days that the sessions could take place on. And the recommendation is to continue working with our usual supplier because they can provide the sessions within budget and cheaper, and at each session as well they can provide different activities. So each session is a little bit different from the other. The Summer Youth Project also includes the basketball sessions as well, which are well established. It was, I don't know what the limit is, I think it's 1,000, isn't it? But it's literally just over. However, he has confirmed he's available for all those days. And those sessions were really well attended last year. They're always really well attended. So I think we should proceed and
I propose we go to recommendations.
Second that.
Just for the record, we did spend a significant budget on this, which is about £6,108, which is investing in our young people. So that's a significant budget in the scale of the town council. John.
All right, yes. I was going to say, have you coordinated with the university for any duck race?
Yes, I have.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you for the work you've done on it, Sam. And we look forward to these events that are already organised for us, and we took the decision as a committee to carry on funding it, supported by the council. And those of us who want down at odd times to see how well they're attended, there's not any sports Buckingham. There's a lot of people, let's be honest, who drive into Buckingham to come to them. But that's not the fault, is it? And thank you very much. And we just move on to the next item.
Okay, so vote for
The recommendation.
both recommendations as well.
Both recommendations. Is that unanimous? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sam. We'll go down to the next item on the agenda, which is the next events. Start scroll back through. Which is the Easter event, isn't it?
Easter Trail,
right.
which Sharon speak about. It's a bit of a collaboration with the Rotary Club. It's the same sort of thing that we organised last year. We've organised a few of our similar activities like this before. It work well. It will encourage people into town. It will give their families something to do. And the Rotary Club are going to sponsor this. They will provide the prizes and a prize draw prize. In terms of staff time, most of the work, the poster and the activity trail can just be adapted from previous materials, so it wouldn't take much staff time to listen, to work with them.
Yes.
Committee, right?
I propose we accept the recommendations, second that.
We will leave office to all those in favour. We'll leave officers to sort out the yeah,
I have a point as well.
Yeah, come on.
Well, given that we've now, in a sense, formally agreed to do something jointly with the Rotary Club, which I think is great. Could I ask the town clerk, perhaps through one of the officers, contacts the Rotary Club about putting in an article in the autumn newsletter? Use that as an equivalent, sort of, just to say what they're doing in the town, mention this obviously, because we only really put articles in the newsletter from organisations that we either sponsor in some way or have a relationship with. So I think this now opens the door for that and to support their intervention earlier on this evening.
Town clerk.
That would be a request of CSSC.
I know it would be.
I know.
I know it would be, but there's no reason why Nina couldn't get in touch with them now, but we can put it on the agenda. Ask Nina to put it on the agenda.
Presume that CSSC would.
All right, could you ask Nina to put it on the agenda?
Certainly.
Great.
Andy.
Just a small comment, there are no dates on this.
So the Easter holidays.
It says only, I know, but
Yeah.
Easter for Friday, Good Friday to Easter Monday, is it?
So it would start from Saturday to Saturday.
Yeah.
So we would use the Tourist Information Centre as a point of contact for people to pick up their trail maps and hand in their trail maps. So it would run through the whole of the Easter holidays.
Happy,
So starting Easter Saturday.
happy to vote on the recommendation, just the reason.
We've already done it.
I know, but what I'm saying is I'd like it to come back with all the other elements, because there was a lot of discussion which needs to take place in a formal fashion about the other things they wanted to work with us with.
Well, we can't discuss that
We
now.
can't, and that's why I think we just agree that, but we need to make sure we do that. Partners are hard to find, aren't they? Thank you. In which case we move swiftly on to the next item. This can be using our way around there.
The verbal update and the good endings fair.
The verbal update on the good endings, and who's going to do a verbal update?
It went very well.
Yeah.
Good positive feedback, lots of stalls. And 170 people clicked through the door.
John.
I think in the end there were about 23 stallholders.
Yeah.
I think that includes WI, who ran out of cake, or used up all the cake that they had. And some people stayed for quite a long time. I spoke to all of the stallholders and they were all very happy with being there. They found them interesting and useful, not least talking to each other, because this is a group of people that always connect together. And they need to, because obviously if a loved one dies and you want to have a celebrant, you kind of have to go on the recommendation of the funeral director, so there needs to be relationships happening, for example. I learned several things. I learned that apparently you can get the ashes of your loved one turned into a vinyl LP, for example. I didn't know that was possible, and there were other things that could be done too. That may not work for everybody, but obviously it works for enough people for them to actually bother doing the process. So some really good discussions, lots of very interesting people there, not just in terms of the actual end of life, but the life going up to the end of life, benefits advice, financial advice and so forth. And we had one organisation that turned up out of the blue. They hadn't filled in their form, but we quickly made it possible for them to have a table, and they joined in and everything else. So all very, very positive, and I would like to propose, I don't know whether I can do it off the cuff, but we can put it maybe later in another agenda, that we have one again in 2 years' time.
Thought we'd already agreed that, do it alternately every 2 years.
Have we formally agreed that, Lisa? Okay, all right. Well, we need to set a date.
You have to check that minute, I'm not sure on that one, but that.
Okay, well, can we look into that? And also, can we next time, whatever it is, 2 years' time, avoid the weekend with Mothering Sunday? Yes. That was raised as a concern for some people, that they wanted to take the mother out and maybe taking her to that. So maybe we try to avoid whatever the Mothering Sunday weekend is in March 27. and find another date. It seems like a good time of year to do it. Because as we probably all know, there are often a lot of deaths around January, February time, so March is not a bad time to actually have it.
I always think it's inconvenient to die at any time, but yeah, I also attended it briefly. I must have looked pretty rough when I walked in, they offered me a wheel. So I don't know where they looked at me and thought I was close to whatever, but it was quite nice to be offered a wheel.
You could lay down one of the coffins, Robin, and you want to see it, nobody would mind it.
No, I didn't look quite rough, I wasn't feeling very grand that day anyway, but and so I was offered a wheel, so obviously they're very good at observing people who look vulnerable. That's a joke really on myself, but I think, can we just ask that through the town clerk, that once she's looked into what was previously agreed, to bring it back to the future
We
meeting?
would have a written update.
And a report, and a full report, a written report with whatever we asked, and that when we agree anything on that, we're in line with what we've previously done.
It was always in the end, going to be a verbal report.
We'll ask a written report to the new committee to guide us forward. Right, thank you for that. And which means we move swiftly on to
Pancake
Pancake
Race.
Race.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah, it's been
It didn't rain.
didn't rain.
Nope,
that's a good thing.
it wasn't raining.
It wasn't raining at all.
Was it raining at all?
No.
I think that it was tremendous how the staff.
It was great.
Yeah.
They're good.
I think my highlight was watching some of the individuals win and their expressions of them winning. I thought the coverage that the council put out of the people who took part in it was really good. It showed the fun of the day, and I think it wasn't a particularly warm day, was it? So I think everyone struggled with the weather, and even though it wasn't particularly warm, and we had what I thought was a really good turnout for it, to be honest. So, and I thank Deputy Mayor for facilitating the event, and I think everyone enjoyed it, and we ticked the box. So that's what we do. We look forward to doing it again in a future year, which is always good. Which means forthcoming events, food fair, or previous event, food fair. I thought was good for food. But any comments on it, Fran?
It was good. I think the numbers were down a bit on previous years. Whether that was because it was actually the last Saturday in the month of February, and that it was last Saturday in February, isn't it?
But it was an early Saturday.
And so it's 22nd. We've had it in March before when I looked at the things, and it was also the same day as the Great Fire launch event, which probably meant that there were more people in town than may normally have been competing with each other for the two different events going on. But I think all the traders were happy with how it went. Look forward to the next one.
All our thanks for all the staff, what they did. Propose that we do that. That's great.
Next report.
I will concur. It was an unusual day with both things going on. John?
Did we note the Pancake Race report?
Yeah.
We did, okay.
Well, we didn't, we have.
Okay, good.
And that's out of order, but we have now.
No, we did.
We did. Thank you. Just a second, guess so. In which case, move swiftly on to the skate park event. Receive the report from
So we have some quotes for the company to host our skate park event. Looking at when we take into consideration the play day date as well, this week we like as well, in between those dates. So there are two quotes. One is over budget, one is on budget. So the one that's within budget. It works with local schools and councils and has proposed a similar style event to last year. Includes everything else which the other company would provide as well. And that's it. We just need to agree.
Lisa,
Yeah, I'm happy to get the recommendation. It sounds like Sam's done a lot of homework on it. So, all we can do is but try, see what they like.
can I just ask for a second before we move it? Does the total cost of the budget include charge for using the site?
So we will need to pay Buckinghamshire Council to hire the skate park, to use the skate park, and we also need to pay a first aider. There is money in that budget to pay for that.
What is the cost? Because it isn't in here.
Well, I haven't gone through that process, but £400 will be sufficient to pay for a first aider and for the high cost of the skate park.
John?
Nina and I are working on something around this, but just to kind of, which is about playgrounds and girls and playgrounds. There's an organisation called Make Space for Girls that campaigns for playgrounds and skate parks to be more girl friendly. More to come about that, but I wonder particularly because I watched a video of an academic giving a short lecture about girls' use of skate parks and their experience of that. And I'm wondering whether we can just challenge the provider to maybe think about that a little bit for this year's event. There's some way in which something could be done, and I don't know what, that would encourage girls to take part as well as boys. I don't know how that would happen, but maybe something that we can just raise that as an issue would be great.
Yeah, I think it isn't. We can take that on board. I don't think we've got it here. I think that you're having discussions. I think that we need to. I think it's a total.
It's a conversation to have. That's what I'm saying.
I would say this event isn't until August, so this is just to get somebody booked in, and we haven't got as far as finalising all of the arrangements, but we could certainly have a conversation with the provider and
That's
say.
what I'm thinking. And they may have met it before. Yeah.
I think we would be very keen to widen the appeal of the event, so we'll certainly make as much effort as we can.
Just an amusing comment, my granddaughter who was just 4, then wasn't fazed by the only girl there with all these boys towering over her. So.
Yeah.
It's good. I'll send the link around of the video.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Let's agree the recommendation and include the total costs in the minutes.
We don't have the total cost because we haven't finalised them yet, it's not. We just need
Okay, in which case can we bring them back to the next meeting, which will be June.
When they're ready, honestly, we will bring them back.
Okay.
But we just need to, because it's a big company, we need to get them booked down nice and early.
Okay, let's agree the recommendation and all the other matters would, out of the office, we'll schedule that in for the discussion.
I propose, I think Lucy's
Is everyone in favour of it? That's good. Right, in which case, we've got no chairman's items, just to say that I apologise to all those people I didn't notify about my changed circumstances in the committee.
Politics.
We all know what that was. And with that, the date of the next meeting will be on the 2nd of June. And I hope to see you all back in the 2nd of June with that meeting.